Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To follow up on the senator's question, so would you commit today to the same privacy standards that you have demanding those of the company that purchases 23andMe? Do not sell unless they keep the same privacy standards that you have?
Yes, that is a requirement, basically if any of the two buyers, and they have put that in their asset purchase agreement.
Excellent. Now tell me, what all do you test for?
23andMe tests for, basically a significant level of, genetic traits, ancestry, and health conditions. We actually, as part of our process, test over 600,000 variants through our testing process.
Okay, so you're able to tell somebody maybe it's predictability of potential disease and other things?
And while we can't definitively say that that person will get the disease, we can highlight risk and basically when people are at higher risk for certain diseases.
And so do you test for sex?
As part of our testing, we do identify if the DNA showed that if the individual is male or female.
And male is XY chromosome?
That is correct.
And female XX?
Correct.
On your database, though, you go into saying that if people self-identify of another gender, that you will attempt to give them a prognosis of the gender that they identify with versus the gender that they test for.
Senator, I'm not aware of that.
Oh, yeah, you do. So it says, we understand that sex is not always binary, and the words male and female may not accurately reflect an individual's identity. We also recognize that being categorized by birth sex may be an uncomfortable or triggering experience to some, and we do not mean to delegitimize anyone's gender identity or expression. We use your self-reported sex to customize your health and trait reports. For example, genetic risk and what they may mean differ between men and women. So men and women are different, right? I mean, you say that here. We just talked about the genetic testing, but then you go on to say, if you tell us you're female, your reports will contain information that is relevant to genetic females XX. If you tell us you're male, your reports will contain information that is relevant to genetic males XY. Additionally, there are some sex-specific reports that are available on individual selected profile sex, such as male hair loss or bald spot. That's because either we're not able to build out an acceptable model for both genders or because the trait is actually sex-specific. And so I guess I'm wondering, did you test, like if it's a genetic female that identified to you as a male, would you test them for male pattern baldness?
Senator, basically, as you mentioned, we actually the customer does report to us, what they believe their sex is, and we test against that as well as what we found in the DNA as testing as well.
I think probably the DNA is what's best for predicting actual future disease or harm or what may come, good or bad, for the individual. On that note, you have about 15 million customers, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Of that, how many are kids?
How many are kids? Mm-hmm. Senator, I don't know that number.
So you don't know. From what I read on your website, obviously parents can agree to have their child's DNA tested. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you don't know, of the 15 million people, you don't know how many of those profiles are under 18?
I don't have that information with me today, but I'd be happy to take.
Do you have a guess?
I don't have a reasonable guess, Senator.
Sir, I think we have to be vigilant when it comes to children and their DNA. We've talked today about all of the potential risk that could occur, from privacy to security risk, obviously blackmail, amongst a number of things. Would you commit to me today that in the sell you will sell no child's DNA under the age of 18, that you will delete that account?
Congressman or Senator, I will take that back and we'll review that.
I think you absolutely should. And on that note, when it comes to bankruptcy, Professor, tell me, when you look at a privacy ombudsman in this space, when you're looking at minors, children, what type of protection is currently in place, And what do we need to be doing as Congress? And actually, I'd like to open this up to everybody to ensure that children are protected in this space.
My understanding is that there are specific laws protecting children information. I'm not an expert on those laws, but whatever laws exist outside of bankruptcy are enforced inside of bankruptcy as well.
Do you all have another? I'd love your thoughts.
You know, for human subjects research, we have special rules for children population, and that might be a place to look for some comparisons.
Do you have anything, Mr. Klein?
Well, as a father, I can say that I think we all struggle with how much of our children's data or how much of our children's lives to digitize. And so there's also a degree of parental responsibility. And when it comes to health, these are very tough choices sometimes for all of us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair.